The walls were thin in that little Chicago apartment, thin enough that the hum of the fridge and the rattle of the pipes often felt louder than my own heartbeat. My life had shrunk down to that space, and in many ways, I didn't mind. Predictability was safe. Familiar. Until one night changed everything, and I found myself standing in the ruins of choices I never thought I'd make. If you've ever wondered what loneliness can do to a person, how it can twist love into something you barely recognize, then keep listening. Because this is not an easy story to tell. But it's real. And it's mine. My name is Elise Carter. I'm 40 years old, divorced, and for the last decade, I've been raising my son Caleb alone. His father, Derek, left when Caleb was just a toddler. One night over a cold dinner, he looked me in the eye and said, "I don't love you anymore." That was it. He packed a bag, kissed Caleb's forehead, and walked out. I was left with silence. A silence that became my companion. Grocery runs, work at the hospital as a medical coder, nights on the couch with the TV buzzing in the background, it all blurred into years of survival. But Caleb was my anchor. My reason to keep moving. I leaned on him more than I probably should have, especially after Derek left. Saturday morning pancakes, rainy day movies, late night talks about dreams and heartbreaks, we built a world together. A small, tight world. Too tight, maybe. When Caleb left for college, the apartment grew even quieter. So when he texted me saying he'd be coming home for spring break, my heart flipped in a way I hadn't felt in years. I cleaned the place, stocked up on blueberries and oat milk, even bought the sugary yogurts he swore he hated but always ate. When he walked through the door, duffel slung over one shoulder, I froze. He wasn't the lanky boy I dropped off at Michigan State. He was taller, broader. His jawline had sharpened, his voice deeper. And though his eyes were still soft, still thoughtful, I couldn't ignore the way my stomach twisted seeing him again. He smiled. That same sheepish grin from when he was 6. "I'll just crash on the couch," he said. But the couch sagged in the middle and creaked like it was ready to collapse. I couldn't let him sleep there, not after the back pain he'd struggled with as a kid. "No way," I said lightly. "You're taking the bed. We'll share." It wasn't unusual. We'd shared before, years ago, when storms rattled the windows or nightmares kept him awake. I told myself it was fine. But that first night, as his leg brushed against mine beneath the covers, something flickered inside me. A feeling I didn't want to name. And I remembered a night I'd buried deep the summer before he left for college. We'd been curled on the couch watching some cheesy 90s rom-com, my head on his shoulder, his arm around my waist. It was innocent until it wasn't. Until I felt him press against me, his body shifting. Neither of us moved away. The TV flickered until the credits rolled, and the next morning, we acted like it never happened. Now, with him lying inches from me in that cramped bed, the memory clawed its way back. The days passed like normal, or at least, I tried to make them feel that way. We cooked, we talked, we laughed. But sometimes his hand brushed mine too long. Sometimes his eyes lingered on me like he was trying to read a language no one else could see. I told myself it was nothing. Just my loneliness painting shadows where there were none. But deep down, I knew. Then came the storm. It was late, the kind of storm that rattles the windows and shakes the ground. The power went out around 10, leaving the apartment in darkness. We lit candles, the room glowing in flickering amber. I had already changed into an old t-shirt and underwear. He'd just showered, his damp hair curling at the edges, his hoodie clinging to him. We lay closer than usual. The storm made the room colder, the air heavier. And then his hand found my waist. Gentle at first. Tentative. My body froze, but I didn't move away. His breath brushed the back of my neck, warm and steady. I told myself it was comfort. Just comfort. Until it wasn't. I turned, our eyes meeting in the candlelight. There were no words at first, just silence. Then, slowly, carefully, his lips touched mine. Hesitant. Testing. And God help me, I kissed him back. It wasn't wild or rushed. It was quiet, dangerous, full of everything we hadn't said. When I pulled away, my voice cracked. "We can't. I'm your..." But he cut me off. "You're lonely. And so am I. And in that moment, I broke. The storm outside raged as we crossed a line we could never uncross. Morning hit me like a hammer. The grey sky pressed down, heavy with guilt. I slipped out of bed, stared into the bathroom mirror, and barely recognized myself. My son, my own son, was still asleep in the bed we had shared. My stomach twisted until I thought I might be sick. But when Caleb woke, he acted as though nothing had changed. He made coffee, cracked eggs, cut the crust off my toast the way he used to as a child. And I wanted to scream. Did he not feel the weight of what we had done? Or was it only me, drowning in shame? The days blurred after that. We didn't talk about it, not really. But the silence was louder than any words could have been. And when my best friend Mara dropped by unannounced one morning, coffee in hand, and heard Caleb's voice drifting casually from the bedroom, something in her face shifted. She knew. She didn't say a word, but the look in her eyes told me everything. I unraveled after that. Stopped eating. Stopped sleeping. Caleb called it comfort, told me not to make it bigger than it was. But it was bigger. It was everything. And it was breaking me apart. When he finally left for school again, I couldn't even say goodbye. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor as he zipped his duffel. "Text me when you land," I muttered. "Yeah," he said, and then he was gone. Hours later, my phone buzzed. His message glowed on the screen. "No matter what happened, I still love you." I didn't reply. I couldn't. It took 3 days before I called a therapist. 3 days before I whispered the truth, at least part of it, to a stranger in a pale blue office. And as I spoke, I realized something. Loneliness can blur the lines between love and something else. Grief can twist into hunger. And silence can turn dangerous when it lasts too long. I'm still learning how to forgive myself. Some days I think it's possible. Other days, I'm not so sure. But I know this, I'm not alone. Too many people carry secrets they think they can never share. This is mine. If you've ever carried something too heavy, something you thought you'd take to the grave, drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story struck a chord, hit that like button, share it with someone who understands, and subscribe to Broken Vows. Because the stories we hide are the ones that bind us the most.